and I can't think of the name of the video. I should have probably looked it up and threw the link up. But the idea of it is that we put meaning to everything. And we're putting meaning to our breakups. We're putting meaning to our family members. We're putting meaning to the items we have in our houses, our cars. And you really don't step back and say, how much does it really mean to you? And why does it mean so much to you? And so how do we give meaning to things in our lives? Can we reframe that meaning? Are the meanings we give real or made up? What are the top 5 most meaningful things in your lives? Being you, the people out there. So I got 3 people, it looks like, that are on deck. And what I would say is, like I said in the video before, item-based things like this, right, which is a Rubik's Cube in my years growing up, right? And so what's up, Monica? How are you? You may have seen this video before where I've talked about meaning and things, but I'm gonna redo it in a different light. Feel free to answer 1 or 2 of those questions up there if you like, Monica. So this is a Rubik's Cube, and I mentioned this in a video before, I believe. And it was at my mom's house in a room, and I was like, oh shit, you still have that, right? And I've never, done it where it goes on all the colors and won the game, but I always just thought it was a cool item, and I always had it as a kid in my room. So it brings me back. The meaning of this always brings me back to my bedroom as a kid, my childhood. It's got kind of a happy memory to it. Do I play? What did you call it? Play? Or do I try to do never? I never try. All it is a memory of being, 5 or 6 years old and having this in my room and playing with it a few times. And where I'm going with all this stuff is that you have all these meanings to everything, but you can change them, right? I mean, on one level, this Rubik's Cube just sits in my office as a prop. And maybe someone walks in the office and they go, oh shit, you got a Rubik's Cube. And then we start talking and it's a conversational piece. But really, it's not that useful. It's not something I use every day. And like I said, it's more nostalgia for me. Now, if I had this item that I showed you, this old Frisbee or disc, if you will, doesn't look, to many people out there, like, what the fuck? What is this? Well, to me, this is probably my favorite thing to go do at the beach with friends, right? So it's a useful item. I play with it all the time and play with it all the time. I go to the beach and, meet friends and throw disc and have fun. And that has some meaning to me. Now, when we talk about it, and this is what made me think about this today. Look at this item right here. It's beautiful, isn't it? Origami. Is anyone familiar with origami? So I was at a Japanese restaurant last night, and the waiter brought these over with the bill. And when they gave me this piece, which is a crane, I believe, in origami, I thought, oh my God, yeah, I remember when I was a little kid, and we have Mrs. Matsuura was her name. She was Japanese, and she was like a teacher's aide. And she was just a beautiful human being, just so kind. And, most teacher aides are. And she would have us do origami stuff when I think we were 5, 6, 7 years old, in that age range. And instantly when I got this, I thought of Mrs. Matsuura and how kind she was. And that I don't remember if I did one of these cranes before, but it just brought me back to that moment. And that was the meaning in it, right? So Monica writes, my son, my time in China 2 years, my health issues in the last 2 years, my college boyfriend greatly impacted my life, my move to the USA. Well, that's outstanding. So what are the top 5 most meaningful things in your life? And probably if you had a college boyfriend that you're not with anymore at the time that you broke up, it was probably hurtful and deep. And now you're looking back and you're like, no, it was meaningful and it was a good time in my life. And that's what I'm getting at with some of these things, that maybe at some point in your life you have problems with them, but you can reframe them to the story you want to fit, and you wouldn't be making shit up, right? Whatever something means to you, it means to you. There's 100 different frames to put on an individual meaning. Someone else, like I said, to the Rubik's Cube, they would take this and go, oh, I've beat that game 100 times. He was a great person. Right. And you're appreciative of that now. You're not bitter at the fact that you're not in each other's orbit anymore. You're saying to yourself, you know what? That was great. Learn true meaning of love. Wow. That sounds really nice. And at the time of your breakup, Monica, I take it, okay, he's married now and you're at peace with that. But at the time of your breakup, I'm sure it wasn't ideal, or you didn't have that same meaning that you have now, maybe, is my point. Exactly. Yes. Okay. That's where I'm going with this. Sometimes it's the same thing with when I do live coaching sessions and we have a good session, and I say to people, it's not going to necessarily cure you or take away your pain, but maybe in a month, 2 months, some of the things that we talked about in the conversation will bubble up at a right moment, and you'll go, oh shit, that's right, or this is right. Sometimes it takes time to digest things and get a different meaning out of it. And we sometimes put an immediate meaning based on memory, right? And that's the first instinct of the human brain, is to put meaning on things that we already know in some context, right? And so, for example, this piece of origami, or whatever you want to call it, this crane, which is really cool to me, brought me back to my childhood and Mrs. Matsuura and a teacher aide, and she was so kind. But in reality, if I would have had a teacher aide that was really mean and forced me to make 10 of these things and I didn't like making them, it would be like, take that crane away from me, because I hate origami. You see how that works? And the reality is, you're a slave to your past experiences and putting meaning on that. Sometimes we carry old stories about ourselves and don't serve us. That's what I struggle with. But you can reframe those stories. Hi, Mac and everyone. What's up, hippie chick? One of my favorites. I believe from North Carolina or South Carolina, possibly. I have a lot of people from South Carolina, randomly. Good people. Hippie chick, if you want to answer one of these questions, feel free to jump in. Feel free to jump in with these. Are the meanings we give real or made up? This is a really good question sometimes, right? Like when I took this this frisbee or disc, if you will, people are looking at it and they're like, what the hell? It's beat up. It's not very attractive looking. But to me, it's one of the funnest things I like to do at the beach. It's significant to me. And that meaning's real. It's useful, right? But thanks for the warm welcome. But some other items you remember some things from, and they don't really carry anything. And I've had this before, right? I did this in another video, so if you guys have seen this before, but this one right here, who would you think that was? Right? Good day, Mac. How you do? How's it going? What's the topic about my phone's being stupid and I've missed first minutes of the live stream? The topic is, how do we give meaning to things in our lives? Can we reframe that meaning? Are the meanings we give real or made up? What are the top 5 things, most meaningful things in your lives? If you want to share that. If you don't, that's fine. No worries. This is lighthearted and fun. So if you want to throw any of those out there, but I've done a video on this before, Dylan. Maybe you've seen it already, where I talked about putting meaning to random things. No, I didn't hear. UNCCC. I hope it's not a shooting. UNCC. I don't watch the news a whole lot. Oh God, I don't. It gives me chills. That's a whole nother topic to talk about, and I'm really, really sorry to hear about that. Hippie chick. Really sorry to hear about that. Wow. It just doesn't stop, does it? Local for us, Mac. Okay. Oh, you're from Charlotte too, Monica? Okay. No, I need to move to an island. I live on an island myself. I'm really sorry to hear about that hippie chick. Thoughts and condolences. I'll look it up later on. These shootings are just out of control. It's a bad thing. Okay, 2 hours away. Okay, let's come to the hippie bar. Bangkok? You looked it up on Khao San Road? It would suit you if you like hippie stuff. I looked it up. It's cool. It's really, they have a ton of those kind of places in Thailand. They like their vintage stuff. Really like vintage. They call it vintage or whatever. I'm sure there's places like that in the States that would be more expensive probably. All right. So I got 5 on deck here. Does anyone else want to share how they get their meaning from something? Or is there something, it's like, if I visit Thailand, I'll hit you up, Mac. Love to travel. Well, I've had many people say that. Yeah, I've had a couple of people actually hit me up. I met one person that was from the channel that came over. Okay, so you in the Okature. I don't know what that is. Yeah, Thailand's a wonderful place. Right now, we're just the weather's just changing. It's been a lot of rain recently, so it's been humid today. Just went down to the beach. Getting back to this topic on meaning. I think it's really important for the people that are in breakups, though, to break that down and what they're giving meaning to, and what's an unfair meaning or what's a meaning that's not really serving you. And Monica, who was on deck first, mentioned that one of the 5 things that she's really grateful is her college sweetheart or her college boyfriend. And looking back, how good a boyfriend he was and the lessons that she learned from it. And I think that's great. And she said, I don't want to quote you, Monica, because you're right here. But you basically said, looking back, you can reframe it into something that was really positive, and probably at the time of the breakup it wasn't. And sometimes that takes time, right? Sometimes that takes time. And I've gotten through that sometimes in a live coaching where we're talking for an hour and a half into 2 hours. And I remember this guy who's, going on and on about the breakup. And I don't mean that this is what we do in the coaching, so I'm not complaining, because I like to talk. And I can talk about a lot of different things, and I'm there for you when you're talking. But he was going on and on. He was quite bitter and quite angry. And it was like an hour and 40 minutes in, he goes, you know what, Mac? He's an older gentleman. He goes, you know what, Mac, though? We had a great fucking 5 years, man. And it was, it went bad this last year. And I was like, that's where you want to be, Bob. That's where you want to be. And he just kind of like, you could see him kind of let down his guard a little bit and just kind of go, yeah, you're right. And I go, you should be thankful for that. But it took him, vomiting or divulging all that crap that he had locked in, that all this bitterness out, to a point where he was like, all right, at the end of it all, though, that was a damn good relationship. That was a damn good chapter, and it went bad. But so he came full circle while, like I said, the things that he was saying to start the coaching out with, he was upset. He was hurt. He had a lot of stuff to get off his chest. And then by the end of it, he goes, you know what, though? We had a great relationship. And I can look at my past relationships and say that. And at the moment, it didn't feel that way, right? It took some time. It's not about you. It's painful. Letting go is truly love. Yeah. It's not about you. Anyone else have a top 5 of things that are most meaningful things in your life? Maybe why? Are the meanings we give real or made up? That's a really good question, isn't it? I mean, part of it's real, part of it's made up. Part of it's just based on what you've seen before, right? So your meaning is really based on one experience or 2 experiences. And I see this over and over and over again. Someone will say, I believe this. And I'll say, why do you believe this? And they'll say, well, when I was 10 years old, this happened. When I was 18, this happened. And that's how they get the meaning from it. And that's how they get their definition of why that is, again and again. And it happens in relationships again and again and again. And that's why it's really important to unpack your breakup fully. Understand what happened. What was your role? I think this is a tough time slot for a lot of people right now. Mac, how do you rewrite the story for yourself so it doesn't affect your current choice of relationships? Great question, Monica. Well, first of all, you can. I would say the first step would is to identify what the story you're telling is now. And that's why at the core of what I do is I have you write your story. It's like you wrote your story. I don't remember the specifics, and I believe I did a video for you, Monica. But if you wrote your story a bit longer and for a live coaching, like 1,000 words, and got a little more detail, because like I tell people, a lot of times when you do the video, you leave some things out and get really clear on what the story is you're telling yourself. Because what happens right now is you have fragments of it come to you at different times in the day or different times in the week. And that part of the story, you're like, yeah, that's true, or this is true, but to really write it out and unpack it in your words, then you can get clear on what you're actually telling yourself and what parts that you're not being fair or honest about. And sometimes I'll use an example. Okay. There was a live coaching I did about a month ago, and the guy was really upset. I've mentioned this before. I don't know if you've heard it before. The guy was really upset that they had broken up. They had a good relationship, very passionate, very attracted to each other. But they were in their late 20s, and he was wanting to actually settle down, get finances in place, get a house, get things going. And he felt like she was about 3 or 4 years younger. He was 28, 29. She was 24, 25. Artist, writer, kind of had just a regular retail job. And this guy had a prestigious professional job that paid really well. So they were on different wavelengths in that way. But he was saying that he wanted her to elevate, right? To, move up in her job, let go of maybe, doing this freelance writing that wasn't really going anywhere. And they broke up. And he said within a month, she took that post that he wanted her to take. She got her own place. She started making more money. She let go of some of the things. And he goes, I don't understand why before the breakup, I was suggesting all these things, or not all these things, but these particular things, and she didn't do them. What's that all about? And I said, well, maybe the breakup had to happen for her to grow up and get out on her own, because she was a little bit dependent on him financially. So she could pursue these artsy freelance kind of things and put off things and have no urgency. And when I said that to him, it was like he moved, and he's like, wait a minute. And it's like it resonated with him. I was saying that the breakup maybe had to happen for her to grow up and to become maybe that person that you had suggested before, because she didn't want you to tell you exactly what she was doing. So right there, in some ways, I helped rewrite a meaning to the story for him. I didn't tell him. I said, well, what about this? It's almost like you have a part of the story that you're telling yourself, and someone goes, well, what if it meant this? And then it's like if you wrote a book and you rewrote meaning to it, or you rewrote an ending, you certainly could do that, right? But when I did that, I remember it was he kind of thought for a minute, wait a minute. And I said, maybe that doesn't serve you as an individual, but when you look back, this breakup served her as an individual, and she needed it as a jumpstart. And a lot of times that's what breakups do. You reassess your whole life. You look at where you want to improve, and you move on with no attachment. How did you rewrite to be appreciative of what that person represented in your life, regardless of their current presence or absence? Well, that's a nice thing to say, Judy Jack, double JB. But that's a really good question, Monica. How do you rewrite the story for yourself? Well, that's the thing is the initial part of a breakup hurts. It's scarring. It's a mouse wheel in your head. It's a feeling of, being on the deep end of the pool and you don't know how to swim. And part of that is really being in a serious relationship is habit-based. It's routine-based. And that's how you get really attached. It's like people get attached to familiarity, and it's just like a kid that has a teddy bear, right? And the teddy bear really has no highly useful meaning, but as a kid, they laid with the teddy bear and they used it. And when they get older, if the parent doesn't take the teddy bear away, some people keep that thing. And it really doesn't mean a whole lot. It just means that it's something that was comforting to you as a kid. It's habit-based, it's routine-based. And things that are habit and routine-based, your mind seeks them out at certain parts of the day. And when they're not there, the mind starts to go, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Now you mix that with love and heartfelt feelings, and now you got a really tough thing to let go of, right? And you're right, learning your patterns. That my suggestion to people is find a way to switch your patterns, find a way to switch your routine, find a way that you make things upside down suddenly, right? That's a big part of it, because if you're in the same routine, you're doing the same things every day, it's really hard to move forward, because within that routine that you've had a routine of seeing your ex or spending time with them, and it gets triggered every time they're not there. And that's when you get weak and needy and want to call them and maybe beg them back or be really upset, and feelings burst out. I like what you said, though, Judy Jack Burton. You're preaching. To be appreciative of what that person represented in your life. And that might be a way to do it. If someone's going through a breakup right now, is to maybe say what Judy Jack said, to be appreciative of what that person represented in your life, regardless of their current presence or absence. And everything in life has duality. Everything has a north and south, a hot and a cold. And the interesting thing about duality is that when it's too cold, you want some warm, right? If you're in the shower and you turn on, cold showers are a big thing right now, and you go in and it's too cold, you immediately want to make it hot, right? Because it's just too cold. If it's too hot, you want to make it cooler. And that's what happens. And then you overcompensate. And what I'm saying is, whatever you're telling yourself in your individual breakup story, you can find the other end. If you're in a place of hate, you can find a part of love. If you're in a place of despair, you can find a part that's uplifting. Everything has duality. That's at the base of all scriptures and different things like that. People are very active today. Hooper, 502 Hooper, do not say anything about any of the basketball today. I haven't watched it yet. Is it pathetic that I'd still take her back even if she left me for someone else? No. Good basic question. That's on your terms. That's on your values. That's on your identity. Now, what would be pathetic if deep down inside you were still hurting and festering and angry about it, and you took her back, right? If you're able to fully come out and say, you know what? You were with someone else, and I'm okay with that. We've reconnected. We've rebuilt everything. I forgave you. I'm willing to move on to a new chapter and to a new relationship. And I mean, how many people have done this in the world? I don't know, millions probably. The thing is, how many times have people been left for someone else? This is not uncommon. A lot of people, oh, that's a horrible thing. It's part of humanity, right? Whether it's right or wrong, it happens. It's not, what's wrong about it is someone gets hurt. But the actuality, if someone lives in a big city or someone goes to a university and has that much contact with other individuals, there's a strong possibility at some point someone could be attracted to someone else and take the next step and actually hook up, and then take the next step and actually leave your ass, right? It happens. It doesn't just happen to you. And if at some point that person's with that other person, it doesn't work out, and they come back to you, that's your decision to make. If you think it's pathetic because society would look at you for being pathetic, or your friends or family would be, that's bullshit. Every individual case is different. So if you, like I say all the time, these are generalized questions and I answer them the best I can. If you sent me the exact situation of what happened, Hooper, I could dissect how you were feeling, what your values are, and ask you really good questions, and then find out if it's best for you and give you a tailored response. But off the cuff, with just a generalized question like this, If someone said like, oh, someone's gossiping at a local barbecue or a family thing, and like, oh my God, she left him for 6 months and he took her back. Who the fuck cares? I mean, that's on him. That's on you. Is she a good individual? Do you guys have a connection again? And the other thing about relationships that's huge is, how else are you connected? Are you connected through a mortgage? Are you connected through kids? Are you connected through, she gets along really well with my family? There's so many other parts of a long-term relationship that have tentacles, if you will, that aren't just about the physical attraction or just me and you together. When someone digs into your family, right, and they're close to your family, that's an extra tentacle to your relationship, right? When someone's involved in paying the mortgage with you, that's an extra tentacle to your relationship. So all these things add up and make it a different dynamic, right? If someone becomes a doctor and someone else goes, wow, I helped him through medical school and now he left me, that's difficult. I think all the dumpies should hook up and all our dumpers hook up to see how horrible they are. Okay. Never thought about that. Nice reframe, Alejandro Rodriguez. Could be, you know what I mean? Could be. You know what people underrate is the dumpy is the victim in a lot of cases, but it takes a lot of courage and honesty for the person that's not happy in the relationship to quote unquote dump someone that they care about and hasn't done something wrong. But at the same time, be honest, be really honest that they're not all in on the relationship and give the other person an opportunity to move forward. Sometimes everyone thinks that the dumper's, evil in some ways. They've had enough in some aspect of the relationship, or if there's a lot of clarity and honesty that I hear from some people, and some people are upset about it. And I understand they are, but over time, wouldn't you rather have that than pity or dishonesty or someone going out and cheating? It takes some courage on the other end in some cases. They are all evil if they ghost with no communication. That's a generalization. Evil is a strong word also. It's the circumstances of the individual breakup. For me, in my role, that's the way I see it. Every relationship and every breakup has its own story, its own flavors, its own little twists and turns. And if someone ghosted you with no communication, there could possibly be a valid reason. If there's no valid reason in your case, they're telling you who they are and how they feel about you, and you need to accept that and move forward. Mine too, no communication, but they're lost. We're working on themselves, or last we're working on themselves. Yeah, a lot of people say, oh, I just need to work on myself, which is a pretty broad statement, right? I think that irritates some people when someone dumps them. I hate using the word dump because it's so negative, breaks up with them. Because dumping is like garbage, dumping would be if someone's doing it in spite. Sometimes people just break up because they change. That's a big one. People change. People all of a sudden go, no, I don't want this kind of relationship based on who I am and what I'm doing right now. People change more than ever in the world because of the amount of information we get on the web, and recreate who they are and what they want to do and where they're going. No communication, but they're lost. We're working on themselves. Someone says they have to work on themselves, you got to leave it to them. You got to say, all right, I wish you the best on that. It's good intentions. Anyone else want to talk about, are the meanings we give real or made up? Does that statement or question resonate with anyone? The meanings you give to individual items, real or made up? Well, they certainly, one thing I will say is that you can change the meanings you give to things, right? You can absolutely change the meaning you give to anything. I think all dumpies should hook up. All right. Do we have it? We've gone stagnant here. I got 7 on deck, 30 minutes in. I'm going for another 30 minutes. Hey, I'm fully healed. I'm sending my ex-girlfriend a piñata for her birthday. Are you serious? Now, that's an interesting thing, Alejandro. Alejandro, are you the one that lives in Boston, but it's from Mexico? Is that what you told me last time, if I remember? If you're fully healed, what's your intention in sending? Yeah, okay, cool. Right on. I remember you. What's your intent? Are you seriously going to send her a piñata? And what's your intention in doing that? To be funny or to, or is that just a joke? That could just be a joke. I know that piñatas are part of a birthday in Mexico, but what would the piñata be full of? Yeah. Oh, so is your statement saying that she's immature, that she's a kid? Is that what it is? Are you, Coach would say no. Coach is doing eye roll. Are you seriously going to send her a piñata, though? I mean, that's my question. Are you joking? And, like, go ahead. My question is your intentions. Here's the thing. If you're doing that, you're kind of taking a shot at her, right? And what I mean by you're taking a shot at her, Amazon Prime, you're taking a shot at her character a bit. And I'll tell you, years back out of a breakup, an ex contacted me back and asked me some simple questions, like in an email. And I still had some bitterness. Not a lot. Not a lot. I was melted blue. Okay. You're laughing at your own jokes. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, you could do that if you thought that she was promiscuous, I suppose. That would be kind of funny, but I don't think it would make her feel very good. But getting back to this really quick, if you were actually going to do it, right? In the moment, you're like, yeah, that was funny. But like a week or 2 weeks later, you're really sealing the deal on them not contacting you probably ever again. If that you don't mind, that's fine. But I remember going back to my situation. I was sent an email. I was asked a few questions about living abroad and this and that. And I just had a smart ass response. And I attached a picture. And looking back, I was like, I was being an asshole in some ways. And we had been broken up for, I don't know, 5 years or 4 years. And she was just asking me some basic questions. There was no harm in it. And I could tell at that moment that I was still holding some shit. And now looking back, I'm like, since then, we've never been in contact. And I'm like, why did I write that? That wasn't even that funny or clever. I was just trying to get a little nudge in there, So if you wanted to do it though, Alejandro, go ahead. But you're sealing the deal that you guys are kind of done. You can't look back like a year from now and go, oh shit, I shouldn't have sent that piñata. That was kind of immature on my end. But for a talk show or radio show like this, it's pretty funny. I didn't know you can order one from Amazon Prime. I've had a couple of piñatas at birthday parties when I was a kid. They're cool. It's a cool thing for a kid until someone takes a swing with a bat and almost nails one of the other kids. You ever see that before? Someone's going around swinging as hard as they can. The biggest kid at the party. It's always the biggest kid that has to go last because they're going to cream the piñata. What's going on here? It's a little bit slow. I'm gonna be going to the States, leaving tomorrow for a whole month. So maybe some of these time slots are gonna be a little different. What happens when you give too much meaning to a person when deep down you know you shouldn't? Well, initial meaning is not under your control. It's like things popping into mind. But if you take a step back and ask some really good questions and why you're giving something meaning, and I talked about this in the last live stream. I don't know if you were in that one. You want to observe. Let's talk about this. What did I say? It was needs. So you can come at it from this angle, which is the non-violent communication technique. But you could say, okay, what happens when you give too much meaning to a person when deep down you know you shouldn't? Observe why. What's the meaning? When I say observe, like a scientist, I'm saying just look at the facts. Don't put the feelings to it. Just observe what happened. So you broke up, they cheated on you. That would be, just the facts minus the feelings. How did it make you feel? Betrayed, upset, and neglected, whatever the feelings were. What would be the needs? I want him to apologize and say what he did wrong. Okay. Maybe that would be the request. Your needs would be to maybe know why he did it. So if you dissect it in that way, maybe that can unpack it. Or they don't deserve it. Well, the fact that they deserve it or don't deserve it won't block it from entering your mind. And every individual is going to give every situation different meaning. There's people that they can break up and go. I've talked about this before. A friend of mine was talking about, this is year back, highly confident guy, makes a lot of money, is a little bit older than me. And he was talking about breakups when I was going through something. And he's like, I broke up with my fiance, and then I'm like, wow. He's like, yeah, it was tough, man. I'm like, what'd you do? He's like, booked a fucking trip to Vegas, went nuts. And he was laughing about it. It's like, got fucked up. I can't do that. Everyone else can sometimes, different people can, or they don't deserve it. Why do we do this? I guess whoever cares less loses less. Whoever cares less usually rules the relationship, not just in love, but in friendships too. They keep everything in their frame. Why do we do this? I don't know. It's individual, case by case. I don't mean to say that again and again, but you're giving meaning to someone. You're giving too much meaning to a person when deep down you know that you shouldn't, or they don't deserve it. First of all, the meaning is individually wrapped from your past experiences and your lens or your filter. So that meaning that you're giving to the situation is actually very unique, right? And that's why sometimes someone else will say something and you're like, why'd you say that? It's why you get really angry with other people, because you think, I would never do that. Doesn't mean someone else in the world wouldn't do the same thing, right? So instead of wrestling with having too much meaning, maybe look at it in a way, like I said, observe what really happened, observe how you're really feeling, observe your needs from the situation, and then think about a request and think about, well, this request, even though this is what I want, it won't be met. So maybe I should just let this go. Or maybe I should state the request. There's also, this book's out. This book is extremely outdated, but it has a great set of questions. It's all dirty. It was a used book. Hypnosis, A Comprehensive Guide. Tad James. Great book. And it has a series of 10 questions in there that I'm actually going to probably make a PDF. I use those questions. Those questions are sometimes I'm a nerd too, okay? The questions in this book are better probably asked by someone, because sometimes people don't like to talk to themselves, but you can certainly do it that way. And I'll be coming out with that PDF probably soon. And one of the biggest things is realizing when you first thought a certain way. Great way to look at it. Yeah, I mean, I hope it helps. It's a different way. You can come at that from different ways. Anyone else have some questions out there? We've gotten a little off topic, but that's no problem. That's not what this is for, is to be on topic all the time. But Monica, those are really good questions, actually. Hopefully they've helped some other people. Does anyone else have an opinion on what Mr. Hooper 502 said about Is it pathetic that I'd still take her back even if she left for someone else? What I'd add to that, Hooper, if you're still on deck, if you're thinking that now, that could change in a month, 2 months, 3 months. You know, that's one of those things that definitely has a shelf life. You could go, you know what, now I'm over it. But you certainly, if you're thinking that way, like if she ends up breaking up with someone, I'll take her back, you're impeding the idea of maybe meeting someone else that's more available. Okay, Gil Gates, good question, because I was going to email you today. I did get your story. My question is this: do you want your story read on YouTube? Do you want to save that story for the live session when we unpack it? Or do you want to do a private response? I don't know if my website's been changed. I don't know if it's confusing because there's been people doing this before. But if you want to book a live session, then we need to go through your thing. Booking session this week, and the times this week will change, Gil, because I'll be in Cali, your hometown, bud. I'll be up by Chico, California, if you know where that is, Gil. I'll send you an email to follow up with you today to get clear, though. You want to talk? I would suggest it, but you haven't paid yet, and I don't know if that's you sent me your story. So this is what happens. You sent me your story, and before I used to just, as soon as someone sent me their story, I built the channel by going on YouTube and giving my reaction right away. And now I'm a little bit more busy, but I would definitely recommend that you do the live coaching. If for your particular situation, you were in a 17-year relationship, you got a lot of stuff to unpack, and what you did, you got to get clear on that. I can help you with that. Coach, I'm in no contact for about 2 months. My birthday was 2 weeks ago. She didn't get any birthday wishes. I agreed to her. How do you know she didn't get any? Oh, she didn't get any birthday wishes from you. 2 weeks ago, she didn't. I didn't get any birthday wishes. This is a really, really interesting thing that happens a lot. People that are adults really get sensitive around their birthdays when someone doesn't send them a happy birthday. Merry Christmas is big. It's kind of like one of those things. It's like, well, they should be doing that. You don't really know why or why not that they don't do it, but people really get caught up in it. The worst breakup that I had was actually 4 days after 4 days before my birthday. And I don't remember thinking like, oh, I hope she says happy birthday. You know, but I think she did. I ignored it. I agreed to her breakup and I stopped helping her rent and bills. Do I think she's pissed? Well, if you're in a relationship where you help someone out financially, then that's part of the relationship. And if the longer you do it for, if you do it for a year or 2 years and that's part of the relationship, yeah, she's probably pissed because, you know, if you take food away from a dog, and maybe that's not a good analogy. What's the dog going to do? It's going to probably be upset. It's going to be pacing back and forth because that's vital to their life. But you would definitely have the right to go, we're done. I'm done giving you money for bills and rent. But when you create a relationship, where you're doing those kinds of things, which is fine, that's another tentacle of the relationship that's really strong, and that's really strong. And I believe that that adds to the breakup drama, right? Because she might not say, oh, now you're not helping me with my bills, but she's thinking it. And it certainly would create some bitterness and another layer of angst or contempt with you. Were you know, and I would have to know the specifics of why you were helping her out on her rent and her bills. Was it temporary? Was she in a bad place? It's like, you know, was it your pleasure to do it, or were you a little bit bitter about it? That's the other thing. If you're going to help someone that's your partner with their bills and stuff, it should be your pleasure, right? It shouldn't be like, yeah, and I got to pay for this shit for her. Work on yourself. That's the short line. Yeah. I wanted to talk to you live. Okay, I suggested. Well, when I'm in California, I can get probably a better time. Because tomorrow night I'll be on a 17-hour flight 17 hours. It's going to be like 18 with layovers, like 19 hours. Thanks, Monica. That's what I'm doing now. I'd probably do that too, Hooper, but it's taken so long to get my current level of healing. Don't want to go through this again. Thanks, Melted Blue. I mean, there's no shame in that is my point. It's up to you in the end. But I think over time, as you get farther and farther from the relationship, you'll probably feel different. I will set it up this week when I have time to talk. Okay. I have the money. Okay. Double G. I will email you today. Gil Gates, good luck. You will get clarity. Thanks, Monica. Anyone else have some questions here? I think I'm going to give this about 15 more minutes unless we get more than 10. This has been good, though. This has been a useful and helpful conversation. Enjoy listening, learning so much. Okay, hippie chick, thanks for. Do you listen to? I've had a couple of people say they just like to listen to it like radio. They don't necessarily need to watch the screen, and that's why I would like to make it more into a podcast, I suppose. Thanks for joining, though, hippie chick. In the car. Okay, so a lot of people have told me that. How do you if you're in the car, then how do you are you voicing what you're saying? Okay. Go walking when you're live to listen. Okay. Walking's underrated, huh? I just went for like a walk on the beach and say, "Oh, did you go running today?" No, just walked. We were a couple. That's why I helped her. We were a couple. That's why I helped her. I came to Boston for business. She thought I was. I'm sorry. I have to read it. I have to concentrate when we're doing live streams and stuff. Someone asks a serious question. I have to zone it. We were a couple. That's why I helped her. I came to Boston for business. She thought I was cheating. Not the case, but again, after the break, she told me not to help her anymore because we were not together. Well, if she made that decision, that's fine. She wanted to be independent. And the idea that she thought you were cheating because you were there on business, this goes back to what I tell people a lot. You don't want to say sorry or backpedal for shit you didn't do wrong. So if she's going like, I know you're cheating and you're not, and you didn't go with that intention, at some point, you got to say like, look, it's up to you what you want to believe, right? And if it continues, you don't want to state a case that's total bullshit all the time. It's and that kind of stuff, it doesn't go away. If an individual is like that, they usually continue to be that way. Probably something in her past is a little bit insecure. And everyone gets a little insecure if you're with a good catch and you're with someone and they move away. And they're there for business or for school. And that's why long distance relationships, they're just not ideal. A long distance relationship should be a short-term relationship. And what I mean by that, it's either going to transition into a breakup or it's going to transition into a long-term relationship where you actually live together or you live in the same vicinity. You live within 30 minutes of each other. But being in long distance relationships, people that are like, oh, we were in an LDR for 4 years. It's like, what? I've seen him work. I worked with a teacher. She's from the Philippines originally, and her boyfriend was from England. And he'd come visit once every, they started out a certain way. They met traveling. And I'm not sure how long they were together, maybe a year or 2 years. I'm not sure, but they would talk every night on FaceTime. And she was one of those people, she never went out. She didn't have a lot of extracurricular things she would go do. So she would be available every night to talk to him. And she enjoyed that. But eventually he would come visit for like 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 weeks, 1 month. And then she moved there. She moved to England, and now I believe they have a kid. Makes me want to contact her because I haven't contacted her in so long. They had a kid, and they're together. But they had, they elevated it. They didn't stay in that position of being on FaceTime every day. BG, Singapore's finest. Thanks for joining. Yeah, we're up to 7 here. Yes, you are correct. It's in her family that they are cheaters. She grew up without her dad. She was with someone before me who cheated on her too. Not me, her loss, to be honest, coach. That's That's coach. I don't know what that's coach. Well, I mean, she can't correct her past. And if that's the way her family was, she's going to assume that that's the way you're going to be. And that's not really her fault, but that's also not something you want to deal with long term. Head work on deck. All right. England's finest, right? Yes, you are correct. It's in her family. They are cheaters that she grew up without her dad. Like I said, that's not necessarily her fault that she and how many times have you met someone, oh, all men cheat? I don't care what anyone says. They all do. Generalization. It's the same as stereotyping, folks. It's the same thing. Everyone does it. You got to catch yourself and go, wait a minute. Is this a stereotype or is this a generalization that's actually going to serve me? Is it actually true? Because in the world of 7 billion people, whatever it is, there is no generalizations. It's like when someone goes, this is how to get your ex back. Okay, it could work on 7 billion different couples or 3 billion different couples, but the actuality is what happened with your situation individually. If you really want to get down to the bottom of things, write out your story, send it in, and get an individual take from someone. It takes a lot of emotional maturity for LDR to work. It does, but I mean, it has a shelf life. Like how long do you want to be in a long distance relationship? I've been in one before, and it's just at some point you get sick of not having that regular intimacy, not having face-to-face contact, having to get on a plane and go meet someone. And then at some point, you're going to meet someone else. You're going to meet someone else and you're going to go, wow, she's really cute. She's really nice. And my ex isn't here. And you're going to validate going out with that person. It happens. The LDR has to grow. If you're gonna have an LDR, it has to grow into something where I'm gonna move where you live, or you're gonna move where I live. There should be a plan in place to eventually, take it to the next step. The highest level probably of a relationship is actually living together. You can call it marriage, but being married for 4 or 5 years and living together and sharing bills is the same if you're boyfriend and girlfriend, really, and you live together and share bills. It's the same dynamic. It's not like you're wrong or right, hon. You're right. It is emotional maturity. It does take emotional maturity. You're right about that. I'm just saying, even if you have emotional maturity, it still can't be, have you ever met someone in LDR? Like I'm sure they're out there. I've been in a long distance relationship for 10 years. I would wonder, like, have you ever cheated? We live together. It's just a short period of time I was here. The lease where she lives is under my name. Well, then you got a little situation when you go back, right? I like your quote, LDRs work until they don't. It's true. Problem is often leaves a feeling of unfinished business. Although most breakups do. The amount of people that tell me, I just want closure. And I understand what that means. A lot of times you just didn't accept the closure that was given to you. The closure was given to you at the breakup. Some amount of people that go, yeah, but they told me this, but I don't really think that's true. Well, why don't you think it's true? I mean, you got to take their word for it or a certain level. You're not listening to completely or looking at their body language and seeing if they're being genuine, right? If a woman says, hey, I just want to be friends, it's been really good. She's basically saying, I'm no longer attracted to you in that way. And I don't want to be mean. And it would be really nice if we could still support each other in other ways. But long term, I don't want to sleep with you and, live with you. Now, someone else would be like, oh, I still want closure from that. It's like, well, when I read some stories, I'm like, the closure was in that statement right there. What do you mean? Like, I don't know if they really meant that they want to be friends. Well, at the moment, you got to take their word for it. Are they a liar? No, she's not a liar. Well, I tried the emotionally grounded, didn't like it. Prefer to fly. I don't know what you mean by that, Edward. Every single ex I have ever had blocks me forever. Well, that says something about you. You're the The band, you were in a band and you're a computer engineer, correct? Corey Wayne's big fan. Damn right. I mean, that says something about the relationships that you've had, but whatever. Stalker. Who's the stalker, Monica? I have this really good memory. Really good memory. That's why when I do the live coachings and I talk to people later on, they're like, wow, you remembered where I went to school and stuff? Nope, just makes my life easier. Good for you. I like the LOLs, the LOLs. That's good. This is, when we get to some of these things and laugh about it, that's when you're lighting it up. Some of the things are so serious about breakups and being out. We got to laugh sometimes, folks. Every single ex blocks me forever. I mean, for me personally, I don't even know if someone blocked me or didn't block me. What do you mean? I tried the emotionally grounded, didn't like it, prefer to fly. Can you elaborate, Headwork? Most singers on stage will stay there. Some will jump into the crowd. I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand the context. How does that pertain to what you said earlier? I'm open to Monica's like, what? I know there's a little hidden meaning there. I know there's some sarcasm there. I'm about to block you and I don't know you. Well, your Headwork, you're getting people's attention, my friend. That's for sure, right? I'm the jumper, emotionally grounded, as in keeping cool, and I just James Bond mode. Oh, that's very Corey Wayne, the James Bond mode. Oh, Mikey Mike. What's up, Mike? Oh, the bird? Do you live with the birds? Wow, you can hear those? Well, where I live, the bird in the morning, it's about 10:20 a.m. right now. In the morning, especially like 8 a.m., they're all over the place. And sometimes they can be quite loud, but people have asked me that before. I like them though. I mean, a lot of different kinds of birds. Mike, good to see you, bud. The original topic about this was, if I can scroll down, because Mike likes to ask about how do we give meaning to things in our lives? Can we reframe that meaning? Are the meanings we give real or made up? What are the top 5 most meaningful things in your life? Maybe you want to save that for yourself, but what do I just go ghost and stay on my purpose and hit the gym? You'll be too tired to even think about that other person. Well, that's a simple remedy, and you're right, Mike. I mean, working out and exercising and doing those things, it sounds simple, but a lot of people will be like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And actually, what I would say, if you have the extra money, right? Not everyone does, and you have trouble committing, get a fucking personal trainer and pay a premium cost, because when you pay something, it's like, all right, now I have to go. I paid the money. It's like, there's a gym I go to here that's really expensive. It's like, I won't not go because I paid a lot of money to go there. It's not really expensive actually, but it's expensive for here. But yeah, gym is paramount, gym or exercise. You don't even need to go to the gym. You can go run at the beach, whatever you want to do. I used to take long runs when listening to music, and that used to really just gut it all out of me. Fuck relationships. Is that what you're saying, Gil? F relationship, closure at breakup. Well, relationships can be good and bad. There's a thin line between love and hate. Closure at the breakup. LOL. I mean, it comes up all the time. I didn't get closure. And I'm not saying that to not be compassionate, but sometimes there was closure at different times in that breakup. You just didn't identify it or put the meaning to that because you don't believe it to be closure. I mean, I've had a video before. There's events when you're like, and when you get closure, this is what you say to yourself. I'm done. People tell me that. I said it to myself. I'm done. That's a strong statement that you make to yourself. I'm done. It's really important to recognize your self-talk. You know, if you're sitting there and you're like, oh yeah, I know why she left me. I'm so ugly. Oh, I'm, you know, like, I know I don't make enough money. And you keep telling yourself, yeah, I'm this or that. You got to reframe that and go, look, let me get my fucking shit together here. Let me start going to the gym. Let me do this. The problem is it just doesn't happen right away. Let me get my money right. Maybe I have my job right now, but maybe I can get like a little side thing going. Maybe I can sell some things online, arbitrage. There's all kinds of avenues. The problem is, and what I like to help people with, you're not asking yourself the right questions. You're dwelling on one or two things. And what I do when I talk to you and the people that have been in a live coaching with me, I'm not sure if I have one in this. I'll ask you questions because me and Mike have talked before. Mike was already through the tunnel. But when you're really feeling it, like maybe Gil right now, you got to ask yourself new questions that open up new thoughts. Because right now you're asking yourself the same question. Why did I do that? Why did I fuck things up? Why did I mess things up? You're asking yourself the same question that has the same answer. You just don't like the answer. So you ask the question again in a different frame. You get the same answer. You try to manipulate it a little bit, but it's going to be the same. And that's when you go into another question. You go, wait a minute, where's my power? What can I do right now to make a difference for myself? How can I go out and help some other people to make myself feel better? That sounds selfish? It's not. Go out and join a charity. Go out and to your local cafe and tell the person they got a nice dress on. Whatever. You stay committed to it. It's $36 a month. Why not? Talking about the gym? Closure at the breakup sums it up. When you get to that point where you're like, I'm done. Something happened, you're like, I'm done. People, have you ever had that where you're like, I'm done? Simple statement. That's usually the turning point. Usually don't come back from I'm done, right? Usually don't go, oh yeah, you know what? I'm decided I'm not done anymore. As far as closure at relationship, I love it. It gives me more thoughts on who's the next love in my life and how they'll be more fit and compatible to me. It's a great way to look at it, Mike. Hey, Mac, how are you doing? Outstanding. Thanks for asking, Daniel. These live streams are a lot of fun. I'm gonna get them at a point where we have them at the same time. I'm coming to America. Remember that movie with Eddie Murphy? I'm Coming to America. That was a great movie, man. Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. For anyone that knows who that is, Arsenio Hall was in that movie. Sexual chocolate. Remember that? Eddie Murphy plays like 5 different roles in that movie. Sexual chocolate. Hey, Mac, how are you doing? Good way of seeing things. Yeah, Mike's a little preacher out there. Mike's got he's been on my channel making comments and supporting it. I don't know. Since for over a year at least, Mike. And he says good things. He says good things. This applies to same-sex friends as well. I've been a bit of a wreck for a year now, but been there and bought the t-shirt, so not so bothered. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's a simple statement. It's a cliche, but it's fucking true. I don't know what you meant by same-sex friends, like not having closure with your friends. What I'd say to you, Headwork, I don't know what your situation is. You've divulged some other things and past things. Make a move, dude. Make a move. If you're single right now, you're centered, you got your James Bond mode, you've had some issues with some friends, you ever thought about starting a new band or moving somewhere else, getting a fresh start somewhere? Just a thought. Soul Glow. Melted Blue, Coming to America, the movie? Thanks, Monica. I appreciate it. Thanks for starting the show off strong and leaving it strong. Pain is temporary. Success is forever. I don't know if success is forever, actually. Spain will do. I'm telling you, if you're in a place, you're single, right? You're single. You seem pretty confident, a little cocky sometimes, which is fine. And you got a good sense of humor. You know where you're at. And you got these issues with friends. You got your issues with your band. You've mentioned that I don't know if you live with your mom, but you mentioned your mom telling you what to do a few times. Fucking move somewhere, man. Go do it. Just do it for a year. Do it for 2 years. Get a fresh start. When you move somewhere new, if you guys are having a lot of trouble moving forward, and not everyone can do it because some people have some pretty serious jobs and some people have kids and different things. But if you move somewhere for like a year and a half, you jumpstart a change in your life immediately because you change everything you do. I've talked about this in other videos. So go for Spain, man. Go for Spain. Spend a little time at Cafe Del Mar. We actually have one of those by my house. I mean, go for it. Why not? Why not, Hedward? What's holding you back from moving to Spain? Can't put them on a pedestal. Don't worry about somebody that doesn't worry about you. Yeah, that's simply put. It's not as simple to do, but it's absolutely true. And in order to stop worrying about them, you got to take them out of your arena. You got to take them out of your frame and, move forward and pretty much cut them off. Because the minute they come back into your life, it's hard not to worry about people. Some people are natural warriors by nature because that's how they grew up. They grew up in an environment where their mom or their dad was a warrior. My mom's a warrior. Love you, Mom, but she's a warrior. And I get that from her sometimes. And I have to reframe it in my head. Spania. I view it as they have no meaning to you unless they contact you, in which my ex has not contacted me, which is fine. I'm great either way. LOL. Good for you. Good for you. Daniel, I think we talked about you making a move. You said you wanted to move to Cali, and I told you to go to San Diego rather than the Bay Area. But have you thought about that further? I mean, Bay Area is great. It's just, get roommates, man. You deserve more viewers, but it makes it better for us. Ask you more questions. I know. It's coming. It's coming. This year I'm going to make it is true, too. You guys get the benefit of live interaction. Someone was saying earlier, when this hits live, I won't be able to talk to you as much. Well, my bassist died from alcohol. I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's chilling. The drummer had an affair with a woman for a year. Then she dumped him and ended up with me when we split after 3 years. So the drummer and me are dead in the wind. Okay, you've mentioned this before. Where's your power in this situation, Hedward? As far as your bassist has died, that's tough, man. My heart goes out to you sincerely. The situation with your drummer and you, that situation, there's a lot of entanglement there. That's kind of complex, but you need to take a step away from the whole situation and move forward. Why not Spain? Why not a new band? Why not a new place to live? Agoraphobic. What does agoraphobic mean? Agro means, I know, you use some words that it's just funny. Agoraphobic. Yeah, I knew the drummer for 40 years. Well, the particular situation you guys were in is complex, but on the flip side, I don't know if it's going to heal anytime soon. So my great grandfather is from Spain. So is mine. That'll be one of the first countries I travel to. My grandmother was Spanish. I have the pictures are up there. Irene. Last name Robles. Yeah. Oh God. He doesn't leave the house. Agoraphobic, I would call it a hermit. Is a hermit different? Yeah, Daniel, I got some Spanish blood too, bud. Good people, outgoing. I've never been. I'd like to go myself. I want to finish school in the coming months and get my data science degree. The reason why I wanted to move to SF is because there's so many job opportunities for data science and FS, but I'd love SD. Yeah, well, then go to San Francisco then, man. Go for it. San Francisco is a beautiful place. Great city. I think Austin, Texas is having a lot of people in that field, and Nashville, Tennessee also. But San Francisco is great, man. Go for it. There's a lot of opportunity there. You get paid a lot more money there. That's for sure. I think, Daniel, you said you're in Texas right now, if I remember correctly. I wouldn't have the opportunity to become a data scientist if I didn't work on myself and challenge myself. Breakups can cause good outcomes. The work never stopped. Oh, God, North Carolina. This is so ironic. We just had 3 people, hippie chicks from North Carolina. North Carolina and South Carolina, it's like I have a billboard up or something. I mean, North Carolina. Remember that song? I always think about that. The Tar Heels, right? I absolutely agree, Daniel, that breakups are opportunity, actually. So the opportunity to find out what you really want to do. Whenever you're in a relationship, you're always negotiating what you really want with the individual you're with. Some people might say, like, oh, that's not true. In most cases, it is. Just a crazy day in NC. I know. I heard about it already. I'm really, really sorry to hear that. Wow. That is sad, man. It is sad. I don't know when it's ever going to end. Someone told me about that earlier that was from NC. Asked me if I heard about it. It's ridiculous. Edward, now there's a good idea, Matt. Get a billboard up, Better Call Sal style. Great show, huh? I haven't seen that show in a long time. I mean, what city would I put it in, right? Billboards are old school. I could definitely do it though, huh? That Tim Ferriss of the podcast asked the question: if you had a billboard that you could put up anywhere, what would it say? It's kind of a good question. It's interesting. Got a nice little group of 10 here. It took a while to get this on deck. A lot of people are telling me they listen in the car sometimes. Excuse me. So they can't always comment, but I think we've had some good things here. How do we give meaning to things in our lives? Can we reframe that meaning? With a cowboy hat, choose the city with the most divorces. You know what's interesting is actually in doing what I do, I don't get a lot of people in divorces. I get a share, yeah, or that are like one particular person's about to go through one. It's more boyfriend, girlfriend. It's far less people in divorces, and people that are in these long-term relationships. It's much more difficult to let go. It's much more panic. You know, if someone was with someone for 15 years, 20 years, there was someone that was emailing me quite frequently that was in like a 22-year divorce, 22-year marriage, getting a divorce, had 2 kids that were teenagers, and he was just frantically in a panic. And all he kept asking me is like, I'll pay you if you could get her back. I'll take a shot at it. And I'm like, that kind of attitude, I don't want to. I'd give him advice on different situations, but I said, I don't want you to work with me and all your focus is on getting her back, when in actuality, what you've told me about the divorce, she's going to divorce you. That's happening. She's already got a lawyer. She's already got the house on the market, and he's looking for a Hail Mary, if you will. And I'm going to be that person, like, oh yeah, I'll take a shot at it. And if you can do that, I'm more than happy to pay. And before we start, you think you can get her back for me? No, that's not my approach. My approach is to help you through the divorce and to accept it and to move forward and to find some things about yourself that you want to work on and find some things that you want to look forward to. Sometimes it's not just self-work. Sometimes we just need to find things to look forward to. Find some like going on a trip somewhere. Mike's always telling me, like, I'm getting my passport. I'm going to go somewhere. Like you looking for doesn't mean that you're capable of doing it right now, whether that's to get leave from your job, but like looking forward to a trip for 6 months or a year, that's a nice thing to have on your board. Divorce, oh hell no. Hypergamy, no good. Does everyone know what hypergamy is? I mean, it's a weird word, right? Basically women searching for men that can take care of them, which is part of a lot of cultures. Some people can be vampires. That was all a setup. If she's gonna leave, she's gonna leave. It's better to let her go and not take her back. Yeah, I know what you mean, Mike, but these people, I haven't been married for 22 years and built a life like that. I can help you through your situation where, you tell me a story and we can unpack it and we can ask some good questions. But that kind of feeling of being married 22 years and then you're getting a divorce and everything you worked for, the nice house and the 2 teenagers that now hate you in some way because the woman said something. That's deep, man. That is deep. And helping someone like that, that's just like, all I want is to get her back. I'm like, you're not in a position right now to get her back. And it's like you're obsessive. But I mean, 22 years, I was in a 5-year relationship where I lived with someone that was really hard and we didn't share with someone. 22 years. Wow. That's tough, man. 10-year relationships is good enough for me. Fair play. I think that people can change their stance on marriage at any given moment. I think if you're going to have kids and you're with someone and you're planning it, then marriage should be considered because of having a family where you want to take care of, you want to have a family with your kids. But I do think that divorce is spending money to lose money. My experience many years ago, stay rational. Okay. Divorce is spending money to lose money. Interesting. That's from your experience. I mean, there are people out there that are extremely happily married. Are they the minority? What's interesting about that is to see, I think people that stay married generally have a lot of the same values. They maybe go to the same church. They maybe have a similar type job. There's so many variables involved in staying together that long. And people that say, I think it's really interesting. People say, oh, it's hard work. A good relationship should involve more effortless action than it should be hard work. I look at it like this. If she's going to bounce, I look forward to the person leaving because I think of the next person better at the next door I'm walking through. Well, that's a positive frame, Mike. Coach, do you have a time frame when to move forward from your ex? No. There's no time frame that I would give you. Alex, I don't know if Alejandro, I'm sorry, not Alex. I used to have a friend in school that was Alejandro by the teacher, but he'd like to go by Alex. I'd have to know your individual situation. Like Mike says, it takes time. Putting a time and a finish line on it can disappoint you. If you're like, if I said, in 2 months, you'll be over it. And then in 2 months, you're still feeling it. You're going to be more upset. Focus on the activities such as going to the gym. I don't know, whatever you're, if you like going fishing, your purpose. You obviously went to Boston to do business for a purpose. Are you taking advantage of that opportunity? Are you looking at that in different ways? Are you surrounding yourself with better people? When to move toward from your ex? Okay, the time frame when to move toward from your ex. I think you meant forward. What's the longest relationship you've seen dissolve? Personally, like I said, that one guy that was sending me emails quite often, and my heart went out to him. I was responding because he was frantic and obsessed. And I don't know which video it is. I did a video response twice to emails he had sent. And I think it was 22 years for him. I've had people that were fellow teachers that were 20 years plus. I don't know the exact ones. I've had someone that I know, like my mother's friend of a friend, and they were together 25 years. And in those cases, someone left someone for one of their mutual friends. Crazy, huh? When it comes down to children, when I get my visitation, I just have fun right around the nonsense. Good for you, Mike. Make your connections with your kids. Alejandro, it takes time, bro. Waiting on a time frame is like waiting 30 days of no contact. Waiting for a person to come back to you doesn't work that way. I agree. I mean, if someone's giving you a time frame, they're just giving you a finish line, and it's not going to finish. And then when that doesn't work, you're going to go, what the hell? I will say no contact, generally speaking. 3 to 4 weeks in, it's when it gets really tough. Brand new Skinner, yo, 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 on deck. B18? I don't know what B18 is. Some of these codes, this is when I'm old, man. He's talking motors. Okay, cool. I know you're a mechanic. Lol. I'll admit when I have no clue, fellas. Honda Motors. Okay. And that's the best way to be, right? You ever around someone and they're like, like you guys are mechanics or you're into motors and stuff, and someone tries to jump in that chat and you're just like, stop. It's like me. I'm big on NBA and basketball. That's my thing that I know a lot about. Would it be a hobby or whatever? I played basketball since I was a kid. And someone jumps into like basketball and you're like, fuck, dude, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. And it's all an opinion. They're trying. It's better just to be dumb and just be like, oh, I don't know that much about, someone's like, oh, is Michael Jordan still play? Fuck, okay. People keep saying, do I ever go to the gun range? No. But something you'll be surprised about, Mike, is I grew up hunting. My father's a Vietnam vet and likes to go hunting. So I have been to a shooting range before. Do I go to them now? No, not really. You should. It's nice. Well, actually, yeah, you wouldn't think that looking at me, right? Grew up hunting, yeah. Maybe not. I mean, I grew up doing it the right way too. I mean, we did a lot of duck hunting. So, like I said, some people might be against that now and stuff. And I kind of got away with that since I moved away. But yeah, I grew up hunting and fishing. I go fishing here sometimes, but yeah. It was good. That's how me and my dad spent time when I was a kid. So I've definitely shot a gun. It's a great way to survive. You know what I find interesting, Mike, is like Joe Rogan, who everyone knows, right? And I like Joe Rogan. I think he's great, man. He's such a renaissance man for like the 21st century, dude, because he's MMA, which I'm not. I know what it is. I'll watch it, but I'm not one of those like I'm really into it like basketball. But he's into MMA and he's actually participated in MMA. He's got a kick-ass podcast. He hunts and he defends it. And he does stand-up comedy. Fuck, dude. Those would probably be on my list. Like if I that's another thing I would want to do in the future at some point is do a little stand-up comedy. I got it in me. Write a couple books. Jack of all trades. I mean, it's one of those things. He's put some time in different things, and he's good at those other things too. He's knowledgeable. But Tim Ferriss, who's a podcaster and wrote the 4-Hour Workweek, he's an excellent author, and he was kind of in the tech field before and stuff. If anyone knows who Tim Ferriss is, I'll just type it. Give him a plug. He doesn't need it, but he's great. His podcasts are really good. Excuse me if that burp came out. When you talk a lot, you get air trapped. But I was shocked that he took up hunting recently, and he's defended it before where, people are like, oh my God, and this and that. All right, let me see some of these other ones. I started reading the Rational Male. I'm almost at the end of my audiobook for Rational Male, and this is the second time. And the dude's obnoxious a little bit in his outlook and some of these titles he gives people, but the knowledge from that I think is excellent. The Rational Male is a great book for, especially for young men, to get a different perspective, I think. My girl slowed down calling and text, but still calls me pet names. What does that mean? Well, it probably means that she's still sweet on you. She probably wants to keep you in her frame, wants to, keep tabs on what you're doing, still has feelings for you. Slowed down calling and text me, but still calls me pet names. Well, maybe she's weaning herself off the relationship. This is something that someone else had called before. This is one of those things when I was younger, I was like, oh, I'm not a very good typer. Now it's like, who's not a good typer now? Weaning themselves off the relationship. So when you see someone kind of like still contacting you, but it's less and less and less, it's like it's a nice way for them to get off the relationship. It's in their favor. If you didn't want the breakup and she did, and she's still contacting here and there, she's, slowly weaning herself off the relationship. Do you want to revisit things? I would need to know ARLD exactly what happened in the relationship to give you a tailored response. So you write your story and send it in. It's totally different when you ask maybe a broad question that compared to if I know your story or the story you're telling. I'm coming up on an hour and a half. I got 12 people on deck. Any questions, folks? I'm here to help. Any questions? Anyone want to throw some likes my way? Please throw me some likes. I wonder how much of a difference it makes for the algorithm or helping out your views. Thanks. Cheers. Cheers, lad, as my old Irish neighbor used to say. Cheers, lad. It's a LDR, 1 hour away from me. 1 hour is not bad, dude. I mean, it all depends on your guy's schedule then. Thanks. Cheers, lad. Cheers. It all depends on your schedule. If you're 1 hour away, you should be able to see each other every weekend if you're off on the weekends. What's the ARLD? What's the problem? Why did you break up? If you can give that to me in 2 or 3 sentences, and maybe I can elaborate for you. I haven't seen you on the show before. Do you watch the channel, ARLD? I don't remember you. Going on. Check my phone really quick. Brash cat. Cheers, lad. Cheers, lad. All right, lassie. Friend of mine that's Scottish over here. She's a nice lassie. She's a really nice lassie. Oh, yeah. Mac, if you started a book review channel, I would definitely support it. Yeah, if I started another channel, that's what I would do. People have told me to just do the book reviews on the channel I have now, but I think it would be better just to do a separate channel. Sometimes might be just as I'm doing these live streams, maybe do a separate thing for this because it's a different context than reading people's stories. But the amazing thing now is when people talk about getting PhDs or getting master's degrees, and I think that's good and fine. If someone's going for their education, I'm not anti education. I've taught at a university, but the access we have to books, dude. 20 years ago, when I was a kid, you didn't just order books and have them sent to your house. You had to go to the fucking library, and the big reason you went to university is they had great libraries. So now that you can just get a book delivered to your house, or you can get an audio book put on your phone in about 10 seconds, or you can go, to YouTube, and sometimes they have audiobooks on there. It's just amazing. So the idea of educating yourself on any in particular subject now is quite easy, if you ask me. And these book reviews kind of opens up. I mean, that's how book review channels are how I was put on to different books. Been together for 2 months, seen and went out, kissed. I'll come to that in a moment, Flo. The infamous P. Let's see here. Been together for 2 months, seen and went out, kissed, and I don't drive at the moment. That's the problem. I get my class 5 in 6 months. I'm bettering myself every day. It works. Trust me. Yeah. Okay. So class 5 is to drive like a big rig or a truck. Okay. So you guys been together for 2 months. You're 1 hour away, but you don't have a car. Is she picking you up most of the time? This is timing and circumstance then, because at some point that will affect the relationship. And women get pissed off when you don't have a car and you don't have your own place. If you're in your like mid to late 20s, early 30s, and I'm not putting anyone down out there because I don't know your circumstances or where you come from or where you're at. But bottom line, when you don't got your own wheels or a way of transportation and you don't have your own place and you're in your late to early 30s, let alone your 40s, women don't have a lot of patience with that. They might not say it directly. You know, there might be some lust and some love in the moment, but over time they get pissed off about that. And they're like, wow, you don't even have your own car or you don't have a way to transport over. And that doesn't mean you're a loser. That just means you're, like you said, I'm getting it in 6 months. It's in the time frame, but that doesn't mean they're like, oh yeah, okay, you're going to get it in 6 months. They're not really understanding that. The amount of people I have that live at home or they don't have a car and it was an issue in their relationship eventually is a lot for men. And it doesn't mean that, like I said, you're not a loser. I know it's expensive out there. You lost your job, something like that happens. But to get back on deck, that is an issue. Ford Ranger truck. What does that mean? You have a truck, but you don't have a license? Is that what you're telling me? What does class 5 mean? I get my class 5. Is that to drive a big rig? Has therapy helped any of your clients? Well, I mean, there's different forms of therapy, but I've had people tell me that they've been going to therapy, and some people it's mixed. Some people have it, and the thing is, now depending on where you're at in the world, sometimes people like it because insurance covers it. There's one individual I know that goes weekly, and he said, "Yeah, I like it." And he goes, "I would talk to you every week, but insurance doesn't cover that." Some people say it works. I've had someone else that's in the middle of a divorce right now. And they went to couples counseling and he didn't like it. He liked talking to me and said, I don't know if you'd consider me quote unquote therapy because I'm not licensed in that field, but we definitely dig deep. Mm-hmm. So I would say that, people that I've talked to that are going to therapy generally aren't going to therapy just for a breakup, if that makes sense, infamous. They're usually going for some deeper things. Haha, I grew up in the era of Please Be Kind and Rewind. Ford Ranger truck. I had a Ford Bronco 1988. That was my first car. Those are like collector's items now from what I read. All right, any other questions here? Got a little stagnant for a second here. Any other question? Thanks for the extra likes, folks. I appreciate it. I'm on deck with 8. Be nice to get to 10. Getting a little thirsty, a little bit hungry. Hour 34 minutes live. Next question. Now it's waning. Now we got 10 people left here. Mitsubishi Montero. Oh my God, that was my next car. I am dead serious, Brash Cat. Brash Cat rolls out with the Cheers Lad and the Mitsubishi Montero. I had a 2000, I don't even know what year it was, 2000 Mitsubishi Montero for years. That was a cool car, and it had that grill guard. That car went 200,000 miles. I ended up giving it to my niece, who ended up having to donate it because it was so messed up. That's wild that you said Mitsubishi Montero. Maybe Brash Cat is someone that knows me. Yeah, All right. Okay. It wasn't a coincidence. Great tag name, Brash Cat. Does your ex think about you while she's in a rebound relationship, or does a rebound relationship have to fail before she thinks about you? Well, she's certainly thinking about you probably when shit doesn't go right. I know in my own relationships, uh, you will think about your ex when the new relationship someone does something that your ex would have never done, or that your ex maybe does better. So that's going to come up at some point. When, why, and how, I don't know. But if you guys had a good time together and you were together for over a year or 2 years, then of course at some point you're going to be on their mind. And after a rebound relationship fails, they probably will think about you most likely first. Not always, but most likely. A Montero Mitsubishi cost money to fix. Yeah, the one I had, Mike's a mechanic. The one I had, Mike, it was, to be honest, it didn't cost me a whole lot. I mean, that was a runner, man. I bought that for my sister, and yeah, I had that car for a while. But yeah, they ended up donating it. My niece just beat the hell out of it. I don't really care if she thinks of me or not, but that's something I would think about during the early stages of no contact. You're thinking about that. Is she thinking about me? Everyone always says that. I mean, the energy and the idea is that people aren't going to completely forget you. They aren't. There's some people with a better memory, but if you guys used to go to McDonald's, I don't really eat at McDonald's. If you used to go to McDonald's and she drives by McDonald's and you had a good moment there, she's going to spark, oh yeah, I remember Daniel there. You know what I mean? That's how humans are. I'm in therapy now, just hadn't had a breakthrough. All right. I mean, what you want to do if you're going to therapy is understand first and foremost why you're going, what you're looking for in the therapy. And nothing against who you're going to, but if you're not happy with them, try something different. There's different forms of therapy. I often talk about hypnotherapy. I talk about there's psychiatry. There's all different things. Figure out. I did hypnotherapy before and I liked it. I thought it was good. It was shorter. It was more to the point. I've mentioned that lady before that she does long-term things. If you're in therapy, stick with it for a little bit longer. But here's an interesting thing. My mom worked for a dentist for, I don't know, like 40 years or 35 years. And I remember my girlfriend at the time went to a dentist. So my mom knew dentists in the area because she was a office manager, secretary or office. She would say office manager. And my ex goes to this doctor to get some dental work done. And she's like, oh my God, you went to Dr. Joe, whatever his name was. And she was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, he overcharges. And I'm like, what the hell? There's dentists out there that overcharge people. And my mom's like, oh yeah, because they'll just have insurance pay for it. So in my head, because I always went to a good dentist my mom worked for, and it was like family, I always just assumed like dentists wouldn't do that. They're good people. The same thing with therapy. It's like you can go to a therapist, and for some reason, a therapist or therapy, you should have a good vibe. You should have a good rapport. And my father, who's a Vietnam vet, goes to a therapy group or PTSD group. And he's had different people lead the group that he just doesn't like. And someone else he'll vibe with. So if you're not happy with it, seek other therapy or seek another individual in the same field. Try different ones out. Don't just stick with someone and go, oh, this is just how therapy is. And be very clear about what you're trying to get out of it, if that makes sense. It's like when people send me their breakup story, I send them 10 questions to answer. And I also say, like, a lot of times, what do you really want to get out of this? So I'm clear on what you're looking for. If you just go, oh, I just want my ex back, I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to be able to do that for you. At times I think about my ex, but when you're with your new girl, all the nonsense stops. But when I get into cars, all that BS fades away. Yeah, well, that's a good example. So Mike's saying cars are maybe his passion, and when he's doing his mechanic work, he's in a flow state, and that's a topic I'd like to talk about in another post. Maybe is flow state is an area where you're challenging yourself and you're losing track of time. And I'm guessing, Mike, probably when you're doing mechanic work on cars is the time when you're. I'm not a mechanic at all, but you're in a mode where you lose track of time. I'm like that with doing live streams. I'll check right now, I'll check the clock 2 or 3 times. I'm like, wow, hour and 40 minutes. I'm in flow right now. I'm answering questions. I'm thinking about topics. I'm challenged a bit, and I enjoy it at the same time. And when you're in flow state, you guys can look up flow state. This is a great place to be. And people get it from different individual things. Artists get it from music or painting. Chefs get it from cooking. And when you're in those states, you will lose track of what else is going on in your life. 3-year relationship, LOL. She hopped on to a new one less than 2 months after. So what? If she hopped on to a two months after, then it was going to happen eventually anyways. That's your closure to me. If I was in a 3-year relationship and they got in a new relationship with someone else, it would probably hurt. But at some point, I don't want to know who the guy is. I don't want to know how they're doing. I want to move forward because I'm not really probably going to be getting back with that person anytime soon. I'm certainly not going to contact them when they're in the middle of a relationship. That's a no-no, as Mike likes to say. Daniel, it's called a rebound relationship. I wouldn't worry. It doesn't last. Just work on you. Nerdy Fit Bean. Another one of Singapore's finest. Thank you, hon. Happy Labor Day. Is it Labor Day for you guys too? Coach, you remember the Montero really well. Did the Montero ever cheat on you? Good question. How could a car cheat on you? That's the thing about that's a good interesting thing is like how attached are you to a car that you had for 3, 4, 5 years and you've been through some shit with? It's like even if the car is fucked up or it has problems, you're like, I kind of want to keep that car. You don't want to just sell it to someone random. You kind of want to make sure it goes to a good home. People get attached to things like that because of the familiarity of them. And like when someone mentioned the Mitsubishi Montero, now I'm speaking too fast. I'm like, oh, wow, that was my car for 8 years. It had some significance. I mean, that was the one thing I didn't sell before I moved. And I was just like, Mom, just keep it for a while in case I come back. Gave it to my niece and everything like that. And slowly it dwindled away, but it had significance. It was my car for 8 years. Of course I had memories. Did the car cheat on me? Not that I know of. I'm not worried about. I'm just asking questions that I had whenever I first found out months ago. Okay, fair enough, Daniel. I know my exes won't forget me. We got kids together. I just orbit around them and only come in for a landing when I visit my kids. And when they say something negative, I just fly away like Superman. Well, isn't that poetic? Christmas lights and street fights, Mikey. My second last name is Montero. That's funny. That's ironic. How do you have a second last name? Sorry, Coach. No more silly questions. No, it's all right. It's all in fun. It's all in fun. You have a second last name. That's really interesting. Judy Jack, if it's a true rear-round, they're distracting themselves rather than dealing with feelings. We'll probably crash later, and she will probably think of you then. Bottom line with rebounds, they can work. The percentage is low. But if they're not dealing with the breakup up front, like if you had a really deep relationship for 4 or 5, 6 years, or you had kids like Mike, and you didn't really let that wound heal and deal with it, you go into that rebound relationship and it's rose petals and wine glasses and it's all great. And then you're like, wow, because you go into that relationship overcompensating because you're lonely. And then you're like, wow, this person, I didn't really know them that well. If you're in a 4 or 5 year relationship, to get to the level of comfort you're at and living together and knowing each other and knowing what's coming, you never can regain that in a new relationship. So a rebound relationship, if you go into it wanting to replace the relationship you were in, at some point you're going to go, ooh, I didn't really know you were this way, because it takes like 6 months to a year to really get to know someone for who they really are. When you go on dates and stuff, everyone's at their best. You got your cologne on, you got your good shirt on, you take a shower 2 times before you meet them. You know, you put on a little baby lotion, you know, your hair's all right. You know, you get your shave, whatever. You do everything right. You start living with someone and seeing them regularly, and you see them for, you know, like when they're in their pajamas and the girl doesn't have her makeup on and shit, it gets real quick. And it's like, oh, okay, you're not at your best right now. You're not being all nice and kind. Someone gets off a bad day at work and they're a little bit sharp with you and they're a little bit snappy, and you're like, who's this person? Right? And that's when a rebound dies, as someone goes, oh, wow, I didn't know that they were really like this. Judy, that's why we call the rebound the painkiller, because they rather deal with them than face reality and what's to be accountable for that's why they monkey branch. Could be flow state. That's what's up. Flow state's big. I mean, I could do a whole show on that. Finding anything that you find a flow state in is big. And some people don't even have something that they find flow in. Look up flow state if you don't know what it is out there. For me, it's doing this live streams or doing my videos as a flow state, doing live coaching sessions, teaching, playing basketball. And basically, the best way to put it is you lose track of time. You know, I could play basketball and be tired and everything, and I'll look at my clock and I'll be like, oh, I'm playing a pickup game, and I'm like, oh shit, that was 2 hours. What's up, AET, San Diego's finest? Message retracted. Okay. True. And a lot of the rebound is subconscious and can be reactionary. They have a wake-up call later. I mean, here's something interesting about that. I think that I hear this a lot. Everyone considers when their ex gets in a rebound, oh, they're going to fail or they're going to find out later on. It can work. It's their business. It can end up being okay. The idea that you're clinging to the idea that it's going to be all bad for them is keeping you attached to their outcome that has nothing to do with you, right? When in reality, you should just want no part of that situation or knowing anything about it. It's like when people go, oh yeah, she rebounded and the guy's such an idiot. He's a loser. Actually, I'm so much better than him. What? It's not, I'm not upset that you're making fun of the guy. I'm just like, you don't want to know about him. You don't want to be measuring against someone that's already with your girl or your ex. It's just going to hurt you. The idea, if you were with someone for years and they're with someone new, I don't want to picture that. Guess what, Mac? Was my dog's birthday yesterday, and my ex dropped off his birthday cake on top of my car and left. Like literally dropped the, like in a sloppy way or like in a box. That's a serious attachment to the dog you guys had. I unfriended her for months. The last post I saw of her was the beach a week before her birthday. That was the ass kick I needed to move forward, going great. That's the point where you're like, I'm done. When you see someone with their new rebound and you've been together and it hurts you, take your power back and go, I'm just not going to look at that. Don't say like, oh, I don't want to be immature and block them. Kumar, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, this is going to carry me on for a few more minutes. I'm getting a little thirsty. I'm getting a little hungry. But you know what? Kumar is on deck. Thanks for joining, bud. Kumar had a breakup, I don't know, was it a year ago? And I did I did a video for him. And we've kept in touch since then. He's doing fucking outstanding. From where you were, Kumar, and where you're at now, and I'm not taking credit for that because you've worked your ass off. I'm not going to mention where you're at because some people don't want to share that. But I mean, talk about someone that picked themselves off the fucking mat and went on offense. Kumar did that right there. I mean, when he first sent me his story, and I don't know the link to your story, Kumar, but that was a tough fucking breakup, man. And look where you're at now. Fuck, man. He can't respect the fact that I no longer want to be in contact with him and thinks I'm being cruel to separate him and my dog. What an idiot. Well, you just said my dog, so you're taking control of it. At some point, he's got to release the fact that he needs to get his own dog. If you feel like he's got an agenda just to stir shit up with you, fine. There's certainly a possibility he could still be close to the dog, but at some point, someone needs to go, it's my dog. You need to move on. I don't want to see you anymore. Get a new dog. Cool Water Cologne. Remember the Lottie Dottie, We Likes to Party, the Snoop Dogg song? Got my Cool Water Cologne. Unless if they had them lined up. I don't actually like Cool Water Cologne. I think it's too strong. That was popular when I was in high school, and I think people would just fucking pour it on. It's nothing worse when someone wears too much cologne, like that strong or too sweet a perfume. And I think women smell better when they wear lotion or something. Like a bad perfume or a bad cologne, it does the opposite. Unless if I had them lined up while they were in a relationship with them, which tells just how faithful they were. But the reality always hits one way or another. Okay. When she broke up with me, she said we both were attached to each other. I know for a fact the rebound is a distraction and to avoid feelings. How does that, knowing that for a fact, help you moving forward? She even gave me an ultimatum where she said she would jump into a rebound if we ever broke up. Well, that's a classic case where someone is creating their future by what they said. She stated she was going to do that, and she did it. It's not surprising. She already had a plan in place. I don't think it's a very good one. He dropped it off in a box. Okay, so it wasn't malicious. I rather they stay with them and they can keep their problems too. I'm better off without them, honestly. Mike's preaching today. Mike, maybe you got a future in breakup coaching. He also did fire tricks, you know. Kumar. Oh, Kumar is ARLD Gaming. Okay. No, I'm confused a little bit on that one. Life goes on because it's not going to be the first issue. Life lessons can be learned and strength can be brought out in you to grow. It's called life. I need to get a bell, ringing the bell right there. Ringing the bell. Hi, guys. Are you still on? Yeah, little marathon run here. Because people just hopped on, so I'm still on deck here. Still going. Pepe La Pew. Who's Pepe La Pew? I know that one. Yes, Mac, I texted him. I no longer want contact, that we both need to move on and to get his own dog, and blocked him. That's fair. The visitation rights for the dog have went long enough, and you've already established it's your dog. And it's certainly something I'm not, like I said, people can be attached to dogs. I get it. But at some point, someone's got to go, this isn't healthy because it's affecting my life. I want to move on. I have to send you my story, Mac. At the beginning of my breakup, I was at the bottom, even if I'm to the point where I don't even want my ex back or want to reach out. I want you to know that your vids helped. Right on, Daniel. Well, I appreciate that. And the people that wrote the stories in to build what I have, I appreciate them too. I was in the lowest point in all aspects, and now I'm such in a better place. Well, thanks. That's fucking outstanding. I take that as a real compliment, and I appreciate it. The Looney Tunes skunk when he spoke on the perfume situation. Okay. The dating game, hot and cold view. Well, I don't understand ARLD. The dating game, hot and cold view. I don't understand that question. I really appreciate it, Daniel. If you want to send your story in or get something live, and if you have some open loops, if you know what I mean, where you're still battling some things, even if you're in a good place right now, maybe it's a good time to maybe close some of those loops and get some deeper clarity. But you do seem like you're in a really good place, Daniel, and I appreciate you contributing, just like Mikey Mike, AET, and ARLD is just new to the game here, but welcome as always. Any other questions? Just went cold there for a second. I got to check my phone. Thanks, Daniel. Much appreciated. It's like, how many people you know that can talk for 2 hours without checking their phone once? People tell me now that people go to dinner and they all have to put their phones in the center so no one plays on their phone. I actually sometimes have people in a live coaching like, oh, hold on a second. I'm like, it's up to you. It's your time. But if you want to have a real civil conversation and get to the bottom of things, you should be paying attention. I look at it like this: dating, I just be myself. If they ain't trying to be in my life or got excuses, I say sure. But while they're in the way, I tell them to make a path for the right person to be in. Fucking outstanding, Mike. Outstanding. That's the way to look at it too. Someone might be like, oh, that's a nice thing to say, but I don't know if it's true or this, that. No, when he's stating that, he's making it real. Sex Panther, best cologne out there. Never heard of it. I don't even know where that's sold. Is that from Mexico? Because you're from. What are you wearing today? Oh, this is a little bit of Sex Panther. Hey, Mac, I have a question. My ex has a friend that's a lawyer, and I fear he might take legal action against me. That's impossible to happen, right? I don't know. I wouldn't know. You're in California, so anything's possible with suing people. I wouldn't know. That's a good question. What I would do is go on offense and ask another person that's a lawyer, or you have a friend that's a lawyer, if that's even possible. You could research it and Google it, but you'd have to be very specific because something like that would be county on county or California based. I don't know. It's certainly possible. It seems ridiculous if you're taking good care of it, the dog already. Yeah, Mike, that's just something that someone posted that's a new cologne. It's kind of funny. Like, you got blocked and he didn't get blocked for saying that. Sex Panther. Funny word. Good night, Mac. Your videos are the best. I work 7 a.m. tomorrow. Need some Z's. You are the best coach. Thanks. Thank you kindly, ARLD Gaming. Appreciate you contributing. Throw a couple likes up there. Give me a like. Give me a like. AET, if it's your dog, I don't see why. But with California state law, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not sure where it stands. I think it's ridiculous if you're taking – cheers, lad, on the like. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that would be taken to court if you're taking good care of the dog. But I don't know where that stands. And maybe you want, like I said, go on offense and actually talk to your own lawyer really quick about it. I mean, what are you going to move houses and so he can't find you again? It's just ridiculous. Maybe if your dad's good friends with him, maybe your dad can approach him and go, look, let's put an end to the dog thing. I don't usually like you to go to parents to figure things out, but if he's close to them and your dad's like, this is kind of fucking irrational. It's illegal in 7 countries. Get the never even heard of it, dude. Must be something with pheromones and all that. Okay, I hope that helps. What's appropriate to say after several months of no contact and your ex reaches to you? Felipe Solis. Good question. Felipe. What's appropriate to say after several months of no contact and your ex reaches to you? Well, first and foremost, you should be in a place where you are centered, you're stoic, you're not attached to, you don't feel jumpy or awkward. You should feel like, hey, how you been? You should be in a point where there's no expectation. In other words, like, oh, we're going to get back together. It should just be, oh, how have you been? A conversation that flows, conversation that's in the present, and possibly something where you guys can meet up if you're interested in meeting up again and seeing if there's a connection there. Not hoping, not trying, not overcompensating, but just going out and seeing what it's like to be in each other's presence. And if you want to reestablish something, you have to reestablish a new connection, not the old one. Callie and I is the worst. VA is hell. Oh, for lawyers? I think that's for legal. I have no idea, but I know that every state has its own stuff. If the dog causes that much controversy, tell yourself it's good you don't have children involved. Amen to that, Judy. I mean, at the end of the day, if you got healthy children, hon, it's a blessing, right? But to have to share, I haven't been in that situation before, Judy Jack, but yeah, that seems like a tough situation. Also, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie is coming out soon too. Yay. There's a Sonic the Hedgehog movie? Wow, Sega Genesis. Thanks, Mac. Good night. No worries, hon. Coach Mac, I like your terms on loops and tentacles. Resonates with me. Thank you for your time. Helps so much. No problem. Thanks for joining, hippie chick. I say this on no contact and they say, hey, what's up? I would reply, my standards bye now. Nerdy Fit Bean, you're still on deck. When my ex reached out to me, I am friendly, but I never go out of my way to be friends. There's a difference. I agree. And that's you being you, Nerdy Fit Bean. So that's who you are. You're not going out of who you are. So like what I'm saying is if you're a friendly person by nature, then don't try to be an angry one to overcompensate or get their attention. I like the way you put that, but you're not going out of your way to be friends with them. So Jim Carrey's a classic. You know what people forget is In Living Color was just fucking, it's just so underrated. Is anyone on deck right now in Living? I think Mike would know In Living Color, the show that made Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey made the show, I thought. But Jim Carrey's great. I remember Pet Detective. I thought that movie was going to be so stupid. Sorry, Nerdy Fit Bean, because we're talking about some serious stuff here. Reached out. Great show. Great show. Did you guys ever see where Jim Carrey played the juicing guy? If you guys haven't seen In Living Color, Jim Carrey, YouTube it. And he does the juice guy. Oh, man. But going back to what someone else said and Nerdy Fit Bean said, when X reached out to me, I'm friendly, but I never go out of my way to be friends. There's a difference. Absolutely. You should never be going out of your way for your ex in any way. It's kind of an overcompensation. You should be in a place where you could take it or leave it. You're in the present. You're in your frame, meaning that you're doing what you want to do. So if you want to talk to them, talk to them. If you, but you're hoping, wishing, or trying, then that's not really a good place to be with your ex. If you're like, oh yeah, let's get lunch and catch up. Let's get dinner and catch up. You go into it with no expectations. If they mention they're with someone new, you're kind of like, okay, now I know where you stand. Or you get together. Sometimes you can get together and you can go, wow, the attraction just isn't there anymore for whatever reason. Keenan Ivory Wayans produced it. Remember A Low Down Dirty Shame? Dogs Hate James Brown music. Yep, and the Fire Marshal too. Great. It's just I didn't appreciate it that much because I was so young when that came out, but it's underrated, man. And you want a good laughs, coach. Want a clip of Anchorman called Sex Panther. Okay. Anchorman. I've seen that. I don't remember it as well. But you know what's actually I'm sorry to get into Jim Carrey movies, but and it has to do with a breakup. Is this one underrated? The Cable Guy. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but that involves a breakup. We were talking about breakup movies a couple of days ago. That is that movie, The Cable Guy, and Chip Douglas. He has a lisp. It was, dude. It was well done because it's like Matthew Broderick plays the square. You know the way they offset each other, and it's like, oh my God, just a hilarious movie. Sorry for everyone else, we're getting off topic here if you're not into that movie, but Cable Guy's hilarious. Cable Guy you could watch now, right? Oh, you like that movie too, hon? Nerdy Fit Bean? That's a great movie, isn't it? Her. The thing about Her was that it's realistic that could happen in the future. but it's just so different. I like the style. You probably like the style too, like the clothes they were wearing and stuff. It's kind of cool. I love her. My takeaway from the movie is love can happen in your mind. Absolutely. Good way to put it. That's what the AI did to the main actor. Conquered the mind, conquered the heart. As always, Nerdy Fit Bean, you're an excellent writer. Her was a good movie. It was well done because, like I said, that can happen in the future. But the idea in that movie to me was that he had the perfect companion. He had the perfect everything, but not mate, right? They didn't have the intimacy, nor was it socially accepted by friends and family, right? Everyone's going, oh shit, he's talking to that person on the phone again. But it got into his mind. He got all the love and support of a best friend / maybe relationship, because she just said all the right things, right? And she had a sexy, pretty voice, right? I thought, my opinion. And I definitely think people in the future could take those on. And it would be detrimental to breeding, right? It would probably be less population because there'd be people attached to that for sure. For sure. That absolutely could happen. And in the movie, it comes off with such sincerity how much he's into it. He's a great actor too. Is it? Okay. You probably know more than me being in Singapore too. I'm sure that there's some with technology and online dating, you get intimate with someone on the other side of the phone real quick, real soon. The attachment is real. Okay. Fair play. Fair play. I mean, in that particular movie, they put him in the future and they put it in a different perspective. But yeah, I believe you. I'm sure it's going on. And that's one of those things that's a wave where there's the technology to deal with that. All right, this is a nice little twist and turn in this live stream here. Thanks, Coach Mac. I'll make sure to keep the conversation in the present. Okay, that's the best thing. Don't bring up old shit. If you are in a position where you have some stuff you're pissed off about still, then maybe you don't want to go on. If you're going into meetup and it's been several months of no contact and you're somehow going to go, hey, I want to know, have you been, the worst one is when people are like, have you been seeing someone else? If they want to divulge that, they can, but to ask that is intrusive and then it leads into different things. Stay in the present, let the conversation, don't have high expectations. And just, go into it. It's an exploring mission. It's a mission to see, hey, do we still have some sparks? All right. Anyone who got some closing questions? I'm getting a sore throat here. I'm going on 2 hours, 8 minutes. Anyone with any closing questions in here? No? Thanks for participating. We had a nice group today for 2 hours, 9 minutes. That's hard for me to good point. Well, thank you. Thanks for the compliments, hippie chick. Any closing questions here that I can help out with? Thanks for contributing, Nerdy Fit Bean, on your day off. And no contact difficult, but it's getting easier. Well, everything's difficult when you first started, right? Saying the connection's unstable here. Okay. Just had an unstable connection. Fell in love with artificial intelligence, and I'd rather fall in love. I don't know if I would, Mike, but that's an interesting topic maybe for a different show. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely going to be something in the future. Sorry, I keep buffering. I just had it on, it comes on my channel and it says, oh, sorry, stop for a moment. And it came back on. Thanks for all the help, Coach. Can't wait for this channel to grow. You deserve it. I appreciate that, Alejandro. It's a work in progress, my friend. It's a work in progress, but I appreciate the support and I absolutely enjoy it. it's a flow state. Like I said, doing this, how many people can sit down for 2 hours and 10 minutes and talk without checking their phone more than 10 times? So this has been fun. I mean, when I was younger, I used to always think like, oh, I'd love to be on the radio. I passed the birthday without making contact. Good for you. Good for you. What's your take on responsibility? In terms of what, Mike? Taking responsibility? There's a really good book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, and he talks about William James being the father of psychology. And the guy, William James, says that he changed his life. He was thinking about taking his own life, and he was having trouble. He came from a really rich family. You can look up William James if you want. I'm pretty sure that's who it is, the father of psychology. And he said that for 1 year, he made a promise to himself to take responsibility for all his actions, and it changed his life. And I think that taking responsibility for your actions and your role is huge, and that's part of being an adult. That's part of being mature, and that's part of being a good human in society. What's wow, hippie chick? It's still difficult because people want to make excuses and complain and different things, but you always have to see your role and what happened. And that's not necessarily to blame yourself. That's to go, well, I don't want to do that again. Right? Thanks. I've mentioned this book many times because I like it, and I think it's I don't like you to use the F word, so I'll just do that. Subtle Art of Not Giving, Mark Manson. But he talks about that in a chapter, and he says William James. It's an orange cover, hon. That William James stating that separate than the book. The book is Mark Manson. Great like self-improvement book, off the cuff, and a lot of it has to do with taking responsibility for your own actions rather than bitching and complaining and being a victim, which a lot of people like to do now. And I've been in that stage in my life for different periods, and I can look back and be like, wow, I didn't take responsibility. Like now I'm in a situation, I'll be like, all right. It's like if someone said they're having trouble on my website booking a live coaching session, the website changed. I have to look, instead of saying like, oh, this person's stupid, they didn't look at they didn't look at the video, or they didn't see this. No, I did something wrong in presenting the website that not all people are clear on it. There's something I can do better to present it to people, that it's a lot easier to book a live coaching session. That would be me taking responsibility. When someone cheats, and I just use this as the most common example in a breakup, but someone cheats and they use, well, I just met her I met the girl at work, and one thing led to another. You're rationalizing instead of saying, I fucked up, I made a mistake, it didn't mean anything to me. You need to go to your partner if they found out and say sorry and be sincere and move on from there. But making all the excuses about it doesn't take away the fact of what happened. Just because they don't give can get the book. Yeah, I think it's a good book. I like it. Some other people that I recommended to actually started following Mark Manson, who has like a blog and all this other stuff. So it's got good perspective. We got 8 bass on deck. Anyone want to throw me a likes closing this out? Like I said, I'm getting a little bit of a sore throat here, but I've enjoyed it 100%. Thanks, Mike, for always contributing and being on deck. Really appreciate it. Mark Manson's an author, hon. He's the author of that book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So you can look him up. He has another book called Models. That's quite good, but that's about dating. I think he has another book that just came out. William James is the father of modern psychology, I think, is the way he terms him. Maybe someone else in psychology would say thing. But William James, I think he was out of Harvard, early 1900s, 1800s. late 1800s. I think important to reflect on your own actions. Absolutely. That's what I do in a live coaching session. We go through your story, and I'm not there to hammer you or say how stupid you are. I'm like, well, let's look at this, and you're rolling it. Well, I'm out. Y'all, good night. Peace out. Love. Be blessed. Safe, coach. Keep up the good work, bro. Changing lives for the better. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate your support, man. You're a pillar in the show. Thank you kindly, bud. All right, I'm gonna sign out on this. Everyone, thank you so much. This has been a good 2 hours and 16 minutes, and I hope to do it again tomorrow at some point. All right, peace.